Hello beautiful people, welcome to my channel Become the Disruptor. My name is Magda. I'm a qualified trauma-informed therapist, and today we're going to be talking about something that self-development industry, psychological industry, therapeutic industry rarely speaks about, and that is fear. The fear that you are feeling in your body when you are changing a belief that kept you safe in childhood. So for example, when you stopping pleasing people, and I'm not talking about general, no, that one friend that you really, let's say, rely on a lot psychologically sometimes, or they rely on you, and therefore you are maybe getting some reassurance and validation from them. When you stop doing that, so you're changing the belief about yourself that you have to please other people to keep them around you, that fear is real for your body and for your nervous system. Now, this is conveniently not talked about because this is a very uncomfortable process. And I've seen that again and again in my clients, that they don't expect that fear to happen. They don't expect that it's going to be as big, but that is the thing. The insight that you get from your therapy needs to at some point lead to action. That action will cause a lot of fear, and this fear will feel like panic, nauseating, feels real, but also very old. It's almost like you are feeling something that was in you, buried deep inside your bones, because this fear is that real. And the reason why I want to talk about it today, so you will see why that fear shows up and how you can work with it, is because I had been a client, because as a therapist, I did have, trauma in the past. I'm a human being, and none of my therapists ever addressed the fear with me. None. And I don't see therapists or psychologists talking about this on social media. It's conveniently almost like, let's just not talk about the fear that, And again, why people don't talk about it, it's irrelevant. But I will talk about it because that is the fear that I had to face when I was changing beliefs that mattered and that were deeply buried within me for me to cope, but not to grow and not to heal. And I bet you got stuck on that fear a lot, because that fear is then what will be your glass ceiling a lot of the times. But let's take it one bit at a time. So what we are seeing in the industry, like I said, psychological, therapeutic, self-development, manifestation, however you want to call it, it doesn't matter. But the industry of that self-improvement as such and growth. What we see is that you go to therapy, you've got the coaching session, you've got the insight, you act upon it because this is, yay, I'm doing something new, and then you've got a new life. How come then so many people are stuck and so many people are jumping from one therapist to another, from one coach to another? Why? Because none of these very simplistic representation of what is actually happening when you're changing the beliefs that matter, no one talks about it, like I said, or very few people. So this is a very simplistic way of talking about it, and let's go actually deeper so you can understand what happens in your body and why your body is responding through fear to show you something, to reveal something for you. Because in this insight, new action, new life, in this kind of positive, hopeful, encouraging thing, like this is it, this is how it goes. What is skipped is the cost, and the cost is the feeling of fear. You will feel the fear unless you are changing the belief that doesn't matter to you. It's almost like, if you're changing something that doesn't matter to your life, then you're not going to feel any fear, of course. So most coaching, manifestation, therapeutic content assumes that you gain awareness, you change your thoughts, You're gonna manifest, you're gonna manifest that partner, you're gonna manifest that life. You're gonna maybe change some of the behaviors, a little bit here and there, something like, a little bit of chaotic. You're gonna change a little bit of your thoughts, and that's it, new life. Yes, no. And I want to actually ask you guys, did that happen to any of you? Because I had been in this industry for a long time, and I'll tell you something, that almost never happens. I mean, almost, because I say almost, it's not because I saw something like that happening. No, because that I'm just saying that almost because there's never 100% in nature. So I'm not gonna be like the one that's gonna, it definitely cannot happen. Maybe for some people it does happen, I don't know. Maybe someone is that enlightened that they don't feel the fear at all. But I'm talking about, like, let's say average Joe, which is me, which is you. So let's bring it back to the ground, yeah? So this type of map would be good if it was actually accurate, but it's not really accurate, because majority of the people on this planet, they have some sort of a trauma imprint, they have some sort of long-term survival strategies and adaptations. And the real sequence, I'm going to tell you the real sequence. The real sequence is, you have an insight during the therapeutic session. So let's say, let's talk about like a proper example, yeah? So let's say let's follow the friend example. So you become aware during the therapeutic session that maybe you are, a bit too flexible with your friend, and maybe, it's almost like a transactional stuff that you just give and give and give, and there's nothing coming back. So they are not there for you, but you are always there for them, yeah? So you gain that insight in therapy. Now, of course, you need to take some action. So the action, what I usually suggest for my clients when there is, let's say, some sort of a boundary stuff, nothing dramatic. Please, it's like, guys, forget about all the drama when it comes to the boundaries. Don't write essays, don't engage, just don't initiate contact. That's it. That is enough of a boundary. And then just see how this person responds. Now, what happens is this. So the client, let's say, okay, so they're not engaging. So they're not initiating any contact with that friend. Okay, now they maybe see something on their social media that person is in trouble or whatever. They feel the need to reach out. And that is then your prediction. So you are almost like going against the grain, because your empathy is telling you, I gotta reach out, I gotta do something. This is your brain predicting the old story that is like, you gotta give something again because they are in trouble. This is the pattern. Now, if you want to stick with that boundary, you cannot do that. You stay in your lane and you don't engage. Unless, of course, they ask you specifically. But let's say, like I said, we're just following that example. So in that moment, when you decide not to do anything, tell me that the fear is not spiking. Tell me that you don't feel panicky. Tell me that you don't feel slightly nauseating. Tell me that you don't have really funky thoughts about yourself, that you may be selfish, that you may be this or that or the other. You will have that. Now, if in that moment you will come back to the old behavior, that's it. That's your glass ceiling. That's done. You're back into the old loop of that behavior. However, if you allow the fear, so the fear spikes, and again, how does that fear look like? It will look differently for different people. It will look, depends on the context of whether that's a friend or whether that is a family member or whether that's whoever else. If it is a family member, this fear will be bone deep. It will feel like dying, especially if it is your mother and the father. If you're placing boundaries, you're gonna feel like a part of you is dying. Like, yes, because remember, your parents are deeply connected to your biological survival. When you're changing patterns with them, some of the stuff that you will be doing around that work, that's why inner child work, all that, it's fine. Yeah, please do that. But if you don't take any action upon it, then it's just going to stay on a wish, like a magical thinking level. So the fear is spiking. The fear is flowing through you. You allow that fear to exist, and sometimes that fear will last for hours, guys. You will feel the spikes of anxiety, your thoughts will be spiraling. That's when you know that you're changing the belief that matters. And you're changing the action that matters. That fear spikes, you still don't change the action. So you're almost like there's a somatic negotiation that is happening, which is like your body is like, it's not safe, it's not safe, it's not safe. But you're like, no, we're doing this. This is actually safe. Your mind will be spiraling, but you're staying in your lane. So you're not changing the behavior, you're sticking with the boundary, you're not, let's say, reaching out, or whatever it is. Like I said, let's stick with that example. And then you're gonna have potentially, so after you're gonna go through that process and you're not gonna go back to the old behavior, you will notice some more awareness coming through. Now that awareness will not going to be very pleasant, because a lot of the times when you actually stick to the action, especially when you're changing a long-term, I would say, people-pleasing behavior, you're gonna have a lot of awareness and you're gonna probably have to embrace a lot of disillusionment around people and around your relationships, the relationships that you've been in. And then, so you're not changing the boundary, you gain more awareness, you gain more insight, you repeat that action, and then you slowly, that belief that you said, that you held, let's say, the belief that I gotta please and read the needs of other people to survive. Remember, this is the belief. So the belief that you have deep in your bones is that I have to read the needs of other people to survive. That's why fear feels like dying. Because it's like, you gotta really understand that, guys. This is hardcore stuff when you do that. It really is. And very few people talks about it, because probably very few people had to change that much, especially, around coaching and therapeutic industry. There's a lot of people who were born with resources, who were born actually without trauma, and they preaching, and it's like, it's not their fault that they are ignorant about the cost of changing the belief, but still, it's kind of not giving people the full information, which is sad. So, and then that belief, so let's say if you're sticking with that behavior across all levels, so not only with that friend, but also at work, but also with your partner and whoever, when that belief is recalibrating, not sooner than that. So do you see actually how complex it is and how much of a fairy tale we are all being sold? And I had been sold that fairy tale as well. Like I said, none of my therapists or coaches that I had ever spoke about the price, ever spoke. And when I actually felt the fear, they would conveniently just, let's talk about something else. It's like, oh, panic in the room. Ooh, let's bring it back to the balance. Magda, do some deep breathing. You know that, guys. You know it because this is probably what you have experienced as well. So you have to remember, when you're changing a belief that has protected your life and your existence for years, even though it distorted your life. So this people-pleasing belief, I have to please and read the needs of other people to survive. This is distorting your life. But it also protects you. So your nervous system is not reading the breaking of this pattern as, yes, let's celebrate, let's have a party, let's drink Prosecco. No, your nervous system reads the change of your behavior as a threat. Your nervous system does not care about accuracy and does not care about it cares about survival continuity. So your nervous system will be, we are becoming unsafe. So I better send some signal to this person that this is unsafe to change. So when you act differently, when you speak differently, when you stop over-functioning, when you stop pleasing, when you stop shrinking, when you stop doing all these, like I said, I'm just throwing different beliefs that you might have, inherited from the day you were born. Then panic kicks in, nausea, heat, dread. Like I said, dread as in you think you're gonna die. Collapse, shaking, trembling, all of that shows up. And that is not because you are doing something wrong, guys. That is actually because you are touching something that is real, but that is really deeply buried inside your bones. Those beliefs are bone deep. So you're gonna feel the fear that is bone deep, okay? So sorry to be I'm not gonna apologize to be the messenger. For those of you guys who really want to change, this is the truth that you gotta hear, because it's coming from a person, coming from a therapist with, almost a decade of experience, but also I've done my work. and I hadn't been brought up in a lovely, wonderful, fantastic environment. So yeah, I had to change a lot I had to overcome a lot of fear. So what I'm telling you about, it's coming from a place of deep knowledge, embodied knowledge, and empathy for you, because you obviously want to change. I know that you do. And don't let that fear stop you. Don't let that fear think that you're regressing, because you're not broken. This is really important. This fear, when this fear crops up, unfortunately, this is the sign. It's a good sign. It means that you're changing something that matters. So fear is unfortunately not convenient and doesn't sell well. It doesn't fit into the whole, productivity culture. It's not like, oh, it's easy to sell this transcendence of awakening than actually metabolization of fear. Because in order to, transcending awakening, I'm not even talking about that. But in order to even get there, you got to go through the fear. Real bone deep fear. So it might be for the first time that you're going to be properly updating that. So when you think about one belief, and like I said, there is no way around the fear. You can do the breathing techniques, you can do all of that, but you will still feel it, guys. And that's when the capacity of your nervous system expands. That's when you are learning that feeling this fear is safe, because you're changing something that matters. So if you're changing a belief that doesn't scare your body, I would say that probably this belief doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to you, to your body. It doesn't matter to your nervous system, which means it's not going to change your life in a way that you want it to be changed. So real nervous system work is not glamorous. Not glamorous. It's embodied, it's repetitive, it's honest, and it is not for the faint-hearted, because you will feel the fear. That's the difference. So I trust that was helpful. If you are on your journey when you want to actually face that fear and you feel like you're willing to go through those, through the expansion of your nervous system to actually change your life, then book a session with me. You've got the links down below. Otherwise, like, share, and subscribe, and I'm going to see you in my next video. Bye-bye.